You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Hope you're all doing well today. Again, we're the first streaming sports webcast from East Greenbush, New York. Great to have you with us today. We've had a nice weekend here in East Greenbush. Hopefully you have where you are as well. Couple of notes. I want to thank all the groups that'll allow me to share this to it today. Again, if I share this with you, you will have pertinent content, I guarantee you, somewhere through the show. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. NHL hockey will wrap up the playoffs and a couple of other things. The Stanley Cup playoffs with Jim Beringer from the Last Word on Hockey. We're going to talk Major League Baseball. We've got the All-Star break coming up. A great game by Garrett Cole last night with the Yankees and Astros. An exciting baseball game. If you don't like 1-0 baseball games, please turn off my show. I don't mean to be too harsh, but when we'll talk about the All-Star break, we're going to talk about the All-Star teams, maybe some omissions. But remember, when we talk about omissions, guys, you have got, good morning, Rick Sherlock, you have got to pick somebody to take off the team. And we'll have a little bit of NFL news and maybe some college football. We got a lot to talk about. So we'll have Jim Beringer coming up here in a few minutes. Again, the Lightning took their second Stanley Cup in a row. We will be talking. There's Mickey Delaney up bright and early this morning, 5 a.m. in Washington State. Great job, Mickey. Welcome. I want to thank my guest from last Friday, Daryl Cheney, former Cincinnati Red, world champion, member of the world champion team in 1975, played on many NLCSs with the Big Red Machine, also played with the Atlanta Braves. And we talked a lot about his career and his book, book that was written by a pastor friend of his, which is an excellent book, by the way, guys. Get out and read that. And also, my guest next week will be Pat Combs, former Major League pitcher with the Philadelphia Phillies. I'll have a promo coming up for that soon. Pat was a number one draft pick for the Phillies in 1988, I believe. Pitched admirably for the Phillies for several years and has had a great career outside of baseball in consulting and things like this. Good morning to Keith Hayes. Gotta love it when the Keiths show up for the show, right? And today we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll wrap up the NHL. We'll probably be putting the NHL on the back burner for a little bit after today. But we got to finish up talking about the Lightning's repeat. As I mentioned, we'll also got a lot to talk about in Major League Baseball, as always. We're getting close to the NFL. We'll be talking more and more about that. I've got a lot to chat about with college football, as well as potentially a new show. Not sure what night or what day yet, but dedicated solely to college football right here on TGI Sports Talk and the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We'll be talking more about that in the week or two ahead. As we get closer and closer to both the NFL and college football kicking off, we're already at July. What is it, guys? July, what's the date today? July 11th. I can't believe it. Amazing to me that it is already the 11th of July. Oh, gosh. Little overcast here today. We're going to get some rain. We had a nice weekend. Hope you guys have as well. What's Mickey got going? How are you, Rick? It's 6 a.m. here. 6 a.m.? Why is it not 5 a.m. if you're in the state of Washington, Mr. Delaney? Maybe you didn't change your clocks. Oh, gosh. Hey, guys, before Jim gets here, we're going to talk about it in a little while, but what a game by Garrett Cole last night. Aaron Boone comes to get him. 1-0 game. Aaron Boone comes to get him in the ninth inning, and I love this, that he tells Aaron Boone to go sit down. Aaron Boone did tell him it was his last hitter, Alvarez. He wanted to bring Boone wanted to bring in Chapman, who, gosh, God knows what would happen. But Cole had pitched a masterpiece, and he wants to finish the game, and we don't see that enough in sports today. Not in baseball, sorry. These pitchers are programmed to come out after a couple of 90 pitches. He pitched 129, threw 129 pitches last night, his last start before the All-Star game. And I think, I think it's awesome that this guy wants to finish what he started. So great job. I'm glad he argued with, maybe you can be paid for your likeness from the NCAA. Well, if you guys watched my vlog, I'm torn on the whole NIL thing with the college football. We may get a chance to talk about it later in the show. Watch my vlog from Friday. I'm very torn. There's a lot of gray area here. And it's something that we're going to have to watch. Again, one of the rules, well, first of all, any state that doesn't have a legislation in place is let the schools kind of monitor themselves. And we know how well NCAA programs do policing themselves. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But I'm torn because these schools have made billions of dollars the last several decades off these kids' backs. Yes, they've gotten higher education. Yes, that's what they're there for. And many of them are not going to get to the NFL, though, and make big bucks. And I really don't have a problem with them making a little bit of money if it's done the right way. I mean, one of the rules that have been put in is that boosters, can't give kids money, but boosters are also business owners who are going to want them to endorse products or businesses. So, and also you can't use the endorsements as an enticement to come to school there. Well, how's that not going to happen? I again, if a kid can get more endorsements, I'm torn also whether it'll make the bigger schools better and make the gap wider, or maybe narrow the gap. I'm still torn on that, because if a kid can get more money in endorsements for going to Alabama than he can for Coastal Carolina, what's he going to do? But then again, maybe a kid who's going to be a third stringer but can be a starter at a Coastal Carolina or a Liberty or some of the American Conference, the AAC teams, Central Florida, Houston, Tulsa. Not the proof for Cole, ex-teammate. You know what? You're right, Drew. I'm so tired of I'm getting off track here. Waiting for Jim to show up, so we're just killing a little bit of time. We'll get into all these topics, but you know what? Garrett Cole shows that this whole foreign substance thing in baseball, another witch hunt from Rob Manfred, just trying to get more offense in the game. If you didn't think that was a great game last night, you should not be watching baseball. I can tell you right now. But we're going to segue from that to our guest, because we got to wrap up, unfortunately, the NHL season. But, it was a great season. We got a repeat champion, and we got the best guy I can think of to talk about it in Jim Beringer. Good morning, Jim Beringer.
Good morning, Keith. How are we doing today?
We are doing awesome. It's been a great weekend upstate here, and we're going to get a little rain this afternoon, but one more show outside for this month anyway. So how you doing? Did you have a good weekend?
I had an excellent weekend. Thank you very much. Wrapped ups today. It's going to be a good day. Got the gentleman's final this morning at Wimbledon. You got Euro this afternoon. So
yeah. Plus
we're talking hockey this morning. So that's even better.
Nice article you sent me yesterday. I got to get up on the site. I got to transfer it because I think you texted to me, so I got to transfer it to my email and then get it over but I'll get it up on TGI Sports Talk. Great article, and you guys take a look at it later. And Jim, if you want to talk about it, you can. But I'm sure it'll come up potentially in our conversation here as I talked about a few minutes ago. The Cup is done. The Lightning are the repeat champions. Montreal did put up a fight. They didn't want to lose the series on their home ice, so at least they got that going for them. And I'll let you take it from there. What's your final thoughts on what we saw during this Stanley Cup run?
I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning are the best team. They proved it last year in the bubble, and they proved it this year in the playoffs. Once the playoffs started, they were the best team going in, and they were the best team in the final. They were on a mission to repeat. Last year they did it, no fans, just in a bubble, no family around either.
Yeah.
This year it's a completely different cup, as John Cooper said. They had to do all the COVID tests during the season. You had to do it during the postseason, the travel. To be honest, they had a more difficult schedule this year than they did last year. They had to play a tougher division, I believe, with Florida, Carolina, Dallas. You had a tougher division to play in, and their road to the Stanley Cup. You could say Boston, was a tough team last year, but I think their run this year is tougher because they were the 3 seed. But you get Kucherov back. You have the best goalie in the world in Andrei Vasilevsky. He won the Conn Smythe Trophy's playoff MVP, and that's what I said. I've been saying this a lot lately. Last year, the Tampa Bay Lightning won as a team. This year, Andrei Vasilevsky won the Tampa Bay Lightning a Stanley Cup. That's
amazing.
What he's done in just close out games, and the team has done since 2019 when they got swept out of the playoffs is unreal. They've won 8 straight postseason series. They are 14-0 coming off a loss. Vasilevsky's 5-0 and with 5 shutouts in closeout games. He has a sub-2 goals against average and a .940 save percentage. It's ridiculous what this guy does. He's the best goaltender in the world. And look, you want to talk about, what Kucherov did after the game and his legendary press conference, and we'll talk about whatever. But he stuck up for his guy because he believes Vasilevsky's the best. And until somebody proves me otherwise, Andrei Vasilevsky is the best goaltender in the world, and Tampa Bay was the best team. And like you said, Montreal came up with a good fight. They prolonged the series, and if they didn't make mistakes in every game, this might have been a different series. We talked about it last week. Game 2, turning point of this series. If they get out of the second period 1-1, it's a one goal wins the game, and Montreal has shown they can do that.
Yeah.
So it's a little different going back to Montreal 1-1 and instead of down 2-0. Then they really didn't show up in game 3, but they won game 4. So it could have been a different series, but give credit to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They played Montreal and the Islanders system better than anybody else did. They limited the shots on goal, and Andrei Vasilevsky was there when he needed to be.
There's been a lot of hockey dynasties through the years. Multiple year winners and goalies who have played great to contribute to that. And again, is it too much to say that this is maybe the best 2-year run a goalie's had in history? I go back, with the Canadians and Ken Dryden, and I was thinking of the Islanders and Billy Smith, but this guy was so dominant. What do you think? Do you think where would you rank him among the great goaltenders in this spot?
You got to put him at least top 5 easily. What he's done in games and just look at his goals against average, his save percentage, coming up in the big spots, making the big save. He's so calm and cool back there. Nothing phases this guy. All right, hey, I give up a goal. All right, I come back, make like a highlight reel save. But in terms of everybody talks about, the Lightning dynasty, and I hear everybody, 2 wins doesn't make a dynasty. Well, go back. This core has been together since 2015 when they lost to the Blackhawks in the Stanley Cup final. They've had a lot of heartbreak, up on Pittsburgh in the conference final, lost. Up on Washington, lost. They got swept out of the playoffs, and they went back-to-back. And they've gone to 5. Think about this. The Lightning have gone to 5 conference finals in the last 7 years. Talk about really consistency and being a modern-day true salary cap dynasty team. This team can do it, and there's no reason why this team can't come back next year and do it again.
I think about the comment I was just talking about, too, over this 2-year period. I think I can make an argument that, those Canadian teams could have won without Ken Dryden. Great player, but the teams were great. Those Islander teams were great. I don't know that this Lightning team wins back-to-back cups without Vasilevsky at goal.
No, because look what he did. Well, I mean, they probably get one because
Yeah.
I think they were going to win at least one this year because Kucherov's not in the lineup for 56 games. They needed their goaltender to keep them in because they were missing one of their best players. Yeah, Point and Stamkos and all the rest of the team picked it up. But if it's not for Vasilevsky, maybe they don't even get in the playoffs.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. And as far as the remarks after the game, who cares about? I don't. Big deal. He's enjoying himself. He's making a statement about his teammates and himself in a way, I guess. But who cares?
Yeah, that's what I said.
They're hockey players. They're not going to listen to him 3 weeks from now, right? So he might as well get his voice out there now. Who cares?
Well, my thing is everybody's like, oh, we want personalities in the game, and then when we get them, we don't like it. It's like, well, you know what? The guy's hammered. He's having fun. He's having a good day. They just won a Stanley Cup. He's sticking up for his team. And to be honest, he's right about Montreal fans. Their Stanley Cup was the last round against Vegas. I hate to say it. As much as it would have been nice to see Montreal lift the Stanley Cup. Their Stanley Cup final was against Vegas.
It would have. Yeah, it would have been nice. But it was. I like to see teams repeat. It's fun. It's a great storyline. So now the storyline for me right now becomes, and my question will be, are they going to have a chance to repeat next year?
I mean, look, they have the chance to do it. They have depth on this team. It's just going to be interesting to see who they lose in an expansion draft. And one of the guys, I talk about, yesterday in the article was Ryan McDonough and his play for the Tampa Bay Lightning during the Stanley Cup playoffs and the final, especially just what he learned being a Ranger and then bringing it over to Tampa and when to be patient and when not to be too aggressive. And he made a lot of great plays, stepping up at the right moment, being patient, being aggressive at the right time. He changed his game to become a shutdown defenseman instead of a two-way player, and that's what Tampa needed from him. It depends on how Tampa does their expansion draft. If they go 8 skaters so they could lock up 4 forwards and 4 defensemen and the goaltender, then McDonough stays. But if they go 7 and 3, it's between him and Chernak. And Chernak's a great up-and-coming defenseman, so that could leave McDonough exposed. So they have some, thinking about what players are going to get exposed and who. I mean, obviously Tyler Johnson is probably a guy that's probably gone, but they have so much depth in this organization, the way they've drafted and developed throughout the years. Look, a guy like Ross Colton moves up from the 4th line to the 2nd line, scores a game-winning goal, becomes the 2nd rookie ever to score in his first season to score a cup-clinching goal besides Mike Rupp, who won the 2003 Stanley Cup for the Devils. I mean, they have depth throughout their Syracuse organization, and that's where John Cooper came from. That's where Kucherov, Palat, Johnson, all those guys came through the system, and they have guys like a Matthew Joseph is stepping up. So they have the talent to replace, if they lose a guy on defense. It's just going to be interesting to see which guys they protect and which guys they maybe trade out or, move. Obviously, Blake Coleman and Barclay Goujon probably are both gone. That third line is that third line's probably gone because I think Coleman's going to head back to Dallas if he doesn't return to New Jersey. Goudreau, maybe they keep him around because of maybe they could get a cheap deal with him. Gord could be traded. There's a lot of guys that are, movable that they can do. But don't forget now, they could play the same trick that they did last year. It's not going to work because it's going to be 82 games, but they could have some relief for maybe half the season. Say if a Victor Hedman needs surgery or a Stamkos needs surgery again, they can use the LTIR to give them some relief and maybe keep some of the team together.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be an interesting offseason. We got an expansion draft coming up, as you said. We got free agency. We've got the college draft, the amateur draft, right? So a lot of stuff coming up in the coming months that's going to affect the coming season. Let me ask you, as we move into and start to transition to talking about next season, what do you think should stay and what should go from this 2020 season? The things that were put into place for this. What did you like to see stay, and what really has to go?
I mean, as much as we didn't like, or some people didn't like the scheduling with the baseball style schedule. Apparently a lot of the players did. So that's going to be an option, maybe not as long, like 3 games in a row or something, but like 2, do keep it 2 in a row and then move on to the next city, especially like say, for instance, like the Islanders whose new arena may not be ready, they could go on a quote unquote road trip, but their road trip could be 2 games in Philly, 2 games in Jersey, 2 games with with the Rangers, go over to Pittsburgh for a couple of games, go down to Carolina for a couple of games, and then you're back instead of a real long road trip. That's something I liked. As much as I like the divisions and stuff, I wish they would keep them, but they're not. They're going to go back to the regular divisions. Obviously, the divisional playoff will be. They'll keep what they had prior to this season.
Yeah, they need to go.
I really like the geographical setup of the divisions, just keeping everything closer. It actually made it better for a lot of teams. Arizona is going to move to the Central Division next year, obviously with Seattle coming in. So, those were a couple of things I really liked from it. I mean, obviously, like I said, the schedule itself, if you had 4 games in a row against a team, it kind of got a little tiresome, as it does sometimes in baseball. But I said some of the players liked it because it limited their travel to a certain city. If they got it out of the way right away, they didn't have to go back. So that's some of the things I liked, I think they could always can improve the game a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they did a really good job in a difficult year.
What about the reseeding of the Final Four?
I really like that. That was actually a really good idea because it's been talked about reseeding after the first round too.
Yeah,
I thought that was really good because that way you can line up certain teams, obviously, but next year they're going to be East and West again, so you're going to have the Western Conference Final and the Eastern Conference Final, but you could reseed after the first round inside, the each conference. You could do that.
that's true. I do like, I did kind of like the homestand schedule, like you were talking about with the baseball thing. I thought it was kind of interesting, added some stuff. I know a lot of people didn't like it because they thought it led to more fighting and, guys get more chippy with each other, but they're not going to play each other as many times next year either. So
no. And you're gonna, and the rivalries are built in the playoffs, and every team's gonna have a rivalry like they always do. So I mean, look, the Devils, Rangers, Devils, Fire, all that kind of stuff. The rivalries are there. So like I said, I liked it. But if they could limit the number of games they do, that'll work too. I know the GMs have a meeting on Monday in regards to next season, the expansion draft, and so on and so forth. And I want to make a point. We were talking about the Lightning three-peat. The Lightning could do it because they have the best goal in the world. So Andre Vasilevsky's in net, so they got a chance to do it again.
what's your switching gears just a little bit to the coverage of the league? I mean, what are your final thoughts on the job NBC did this year and in general, and in general, what will be the effect of moving the league coverage, moving to ESPN?
I thought at the beginning they did a really good job. Because it was the only game in town coming out of the lockout. They brought hockey back, to the States, but I always thought they always took it. The personalities they had were good. Their coverage, their studio coverage was good. The way they broke down the game, their analysts and everything, but they always took a backseat to everything else. The biggest complaint I had, and I always had it, was when you got to the conference final. I didn't want to see an afternoon game the day of the Belmont or the day of the Preakness because it would be moved.
Yeah.
And go back to 2007, the Eastern Conference Final was on NBC and it had to be switched to Versus. And only if you didn't know that the NHL had a backup channel, you missed overtime and Alfredsson's overtime goal to send the Senators to the Stanley Cup Final because they cut in for a Preakness pregame show for the race that happened at 6, and overtime was over within 10 minutes.
There's only about 88 people who have Versus, I think, anyway.
Right. So it was like, come on, you gotta keep the game on. They really didn't promote the game as much as they should have. They really didn't do it in other shows. You didn't really see it too much if you were watching other networks. They did finally incorporate all their channels, several years ago, which was a good thing because people were clamoring for it. How come it's only on 2 channels? You have all these networks. So they finally did it. But towards the end, they kind of just mailed it in because they knew they weren't going to get the number that they wanted. The NHL was growing and they helped grow the game. And as much as the NHL wanted, is thankful to NBC, they wanted to be back on ESPN. They wanted that national spotlight on that channel. And I think ESPN is going to do a good job. They have the personalities, but again, the back of my mind is, will it take a backseat to something else?
Well, if they use ESPN Plus, right? I mean, you get to see all the games.
They've been using ESPN Plus because they had a streaming deal where like most of the games were on like out of network, so you can get all the games on. But I'm saying like now they'll officially kind of talk about it and promote it the right way. So that'll definitely help. And ESPN's going to do their job the way they believe it, that they can promote and help hockey. And I think it's a good relationship. Same with Turner. I think they're going to help out as well. And NBC just didn't want to play second fiddle and bridesmaids to ESPN.
They've done a lot of bringing in of some big names, obviously, in Gretzky and some others. What are your thoughts? And I was a little surprised, and I like Sean McDonough a lot. I think he's a great sports announcer. I don't know that I've ever heard him do hockey. What are your thoughts about him being their lead play-by-play guy?
I know he does college hockey, but I thought Steve Levy should have been the main play-by-play guy for ESPN because he was there when they had hockey. Hockey's a tough sport to be the lead play-by-play guy if you don't know the names and you don't know how to call the game. Steve Levy knows how to do it. I wish he was the number one guy. It'd be kind of cool, maybe if they asked Gary Thorne to come back to a couple of games, just
that would have been cool,
because he was the voice of ESPN for so long with Bill Clement. But I understand they want to go different direction. I think the personalities they brought in, especially on the female side, are really good. AJ Malesko is really good.
Yeah.
Cassie Campbell is really good. But, again, it was a little strange to see Sean McDonough, all the best to him, but it is tough to call hockey. And Steve Levy's really good at really good at calling hockey. So I was surprised that he wasn't the lead play-by-play guy. And as far as the personality, I understand you need the names, like the Messiers, the Gretzkys, all like that. But that's not the personalities you need in studio to make a studio show go. Gretzky's so bland. Messier's so bland. Hull might be the only guy you'll get something out of. But, again, inside the NBA is so good because they all work well together. And the players had the personalities with Shaq and Chuck. And then you got Kenny Smith there. And
that's the best studio show in the history of sports, I think.
You can't recreate that success as much as you want to try. You could do your best at it, but that's the best in-studio show I've ever seen. So, but again, there's certain personalities. I maybe would have got a different guy in there just to lighten it a little bit more. But hey, you know what? All the best to them because I want to see hockey succeed in the States because, it's taken a back seat for a while.
For sure. Well, you know what? We're going to wrap it up a few minutes early, but I got to tell you, you've done a great job through these playoffs, Jim, and we're going to still stay in touch because we got a lot of stuff coming up. Even if it's not every week, we're going to be in touch through this expansion draft and the free agency and the amateur draft. Lots of stuff to talk about and leading up in the next year, and hopefully we'll have a real. Not that this wasn't a good season, but we'll have a real hockey season like we'll have all of sports back to kind of what it was. I really don't want to be watching the Stanley Cup finals at the 4th of July, so.
As much as I like summer hockey, we need to get the Stanley Cup over in June so we can enjoy, get back to having July 1st being the start of free agency.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Jim, thank you a lot. I'm going to, as I said, I'll promise I'll get the article up today. Great job. As always, continue to share anything you want, and I'll get it on the page because I think you do some great work, bud.
I appreciate that, Keith. Thanks for having me on for the run through the playoffs. And earlier when we were talking about the season, I appreciate it so much. Definitely be in touch, and we'll talk about some more hockey maybe in a couple weeks when the drafts are over and start of free agency.
Absolutely. So thanks again for all these weeks and the weeks to come. Thanks, Jim. Have a great Sunday.
You too. Have a good one.
All right. Bye. Jim Beringer. Last word on hockey. Not the last word. I'll actually bring up a couple of, because I didn't want to bother Bill, you had a couple of funny comments here, but I didn't want to, I know Jim will read the comments and I didn't want to distract him from what we were talking about. Billy had mentioned the ringmaster does have 2 hats. I should have brought that one up, I guess. Short-handed goals should be 1.5 points, Billy, and your 0.5s are hilarious, by the way. And, of course, hockey needs cheerleaders. I have no idea what that would even look like. Ringmaster is the best. Billy, you've got Amanda Croft using your nickname for Jim Beringer. So, Amanda, thanks for tuning in and watching, Jim. I know you're a friend of Jim's, and I'm glad that I'm happy to see you tune in, and we'll certainly be having more of Jim on. And I could have got that one up for sure before he left, but thanks, Rick. He will see this, I guarantee you. Jim does have some great knowledge and insight for sure. And good morning, Dave Guyette. Dave Guyette, a little late this morning. Oh, guys, so that's hockey for now. I know some of you are happy and some of you are sad, but, you know, hockey's got to be talked about. I hate to. I know some of you don't like it, but I got a lot of hockey viewers when we share the show. So, and we got to keep Jim involved. He is one of the most knowledgeable guys that we have on my show anyway, on a regular basis. So, guys, we're going to jump over to Major League Baseball. We're going to talk a little bit. The first half's coming to an end today. We're going to talk a little bit. I'll go through the standings a little bit, and we'll talk about, you know, who's still in play, who's not, what's the team, maybe, you know, who might be buyers and sellers. I'll comment a little bit on that. I'm going to look at the all-star rosters. We can make some comments, if you like, about the omissions. Got a couple ideas of my own. But remember, if we take somebody and say they have to be on a team, you got to tell me somebody's got to come off. You don't have to, but somebody's got to come off. You can't just keep adding to these teams, right? I'm a little disappointed in some of the guys that back out for different reasons, because I think all-star baseball still got the best all-star game. The other ones are awful. I mean, absolutely awful. That's Dave Guyette here. Dave Guyette went to a wedding yesterday. Hockey, Jim's still with us. Hockey and cheerleaders doesn't work. They try, but it doesn't work. The game on ice sells itself. I think Billy, I think Jim is being a little facetious, I think. Yeah, we'll get to that. Kakuna out. We'll talk. In fact, I'll jump right on that here in a second. Good morning to Ken Gifford. He's running a little late, but maybe he wanted to miss the hockey. I know he's not a hockey fan, but that's okay. We're not all hockey fans. Yeah, I do think Billy was joking too, but we never know. That's why I didn't bring him up, Jim, if you're still there. That's why I didn't bring him up when you were here, just so we didn't get too distracted. Billy has some interesting insight on things of his own. Maybe I should have him on talk about hockey with Jim one day. That might be interesting. So, Major League Baseball, we will start. We're going to jump into the standings, but I guess we'll start right now. As Drew said, you know, the big news today, unfortunately, in Major League Baseball is the fact that for the Braves, they lose their superstar Acuna for the year with a torn ACL. Devastating news for the Braves, who are just starting to. I think they're 500 for the first time, at least since for early in the season that I can remember. They might have been there at some point in time, but oops. It's kind of sad, the Braves. Again, I picked the Braves to get to the World Series. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think their pitching has been what we expected it to be. Ian Anderson's pitched okay. Pitched well, in fact, I think, for the most part. But some other guys have not stepped up that we thought would. Their defense is not as good as I thought it would be, and their offense has been inconsistent. And now they've lost their best player for the year. They've won 3 in a row. They got to 500, as I mentioned, but it's going to be very tough road for them to hold now. Guess I'm not going to put those comments up, but you guys can kibitz amongst yourselves. So, and if you got Acuna in fantasy baseball, your team is also in a lot of trouble right now as well, unless it's a dual league thing like the one I have with Drew. And then you still got some options. But listen, if you're in a National League only league like I was for years, with 12 teams, and 40-man rosters. Again, they go deep into the minor leagues. I'm glad I'm out of that, to be honest with you. I did for 35 years the same league. So it was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work. So bad news for the Braves in all baseball. Baseball loses in these things as well. Kenny's got the PERT spelling going this morning, apparently, which is fine. Because no child was left behind at Perth. Kenny's on a little board and no sight. I understand. I get outside, I have a much smaller screen than I have when I'm inside as well. So, again, Perth left no child behind. So you got out. Although I did graduate with somebody who I think was a class of 76, 77, and 78. Not sure. I'm not going to call that person out, obviously, but I think I did. Let's just go through the standings quickly. And we'll talk more about Acuna, and we'll jump into your comments as you want. Standings, and again, we're past the midway point. You know, the All-Star game is always called the midway point of the season, but it's not. Most teams, if not all teams, are at or around the 90 game mark, which is well past midway. And we've still got some interesting developments here. I mean, look at the Red Sox still lead the East of the American League by a game and a half with the Rays, but the Rays again have bounced back. A lot of teams very streaky this year. 6 wins in a row now for the Rays. Going into one game left before the All-Star break. And they're 17 games over 500. The Red Sox continue to surprise me at 20 games over 500. The Yankees, Yankees still have some major problems. But the Yankees now have won, I think, 5 out of 6. And 2 big wins. A sweep today in Houston would be so good for their chances and their mental outlook going into the break, but they've still got some major deficiencies, right? The problems have not gone away during this streak, right? We're still short of starting pitchers. We've still got injury issues. We're shorthanded in the outfield. Stanton can't stay on the field and can't play in the field. Torres is out of position at shortstop. LeMahieu has not gotten it going yet. Maybe he started to hit a little bit. His slugging percentage is .390, guys. It was 2 years ago, it was like .590. And even last year, which he had a great year, it was down, but it's still .518 or .520. Really good for a guy like LeMahieu. So his power numbers are way down, even more than his average. But some good hope for the Yankees. And by the way, again, I want to jump again on Garrett Cole a little bit. For those of you who weren't here when I started the show, I know Drew had made a comment. Garrett Cole pitched great last night. Drew made a comment that his last few starts have been redeeming about all the accusations flying around about, substance abuse and everything else. And I'm like, I'm sorry, not substance abuse. Foreign substances on the baseball. Good grief. I will tell you again, it's a bunch of nonsense. It's Rob Manfred not wanting games like you saw last night. 1-0, tremendous pitching duel. That was an exciting game. And if you weren't excited by that game, I'm sorry. I just am. It's not the game for you. That's just how I feel. And, you can feel differently, but that was an exciting game last night. And I would have felt that way if I was watching, the Dodgers and Padres, or if I was watching the Mets and Braves, or whoever you want to bring up. An exciting 1-0 game, well pitched, well played, and a pitcher who refused to come out of the game when his manager came out to get him. I'm not for disrespecting your manager, but I don't think that was disrespect. That was Garrett Cole saying, I'm finishing what I started. And Boone did say after the game, he asked what Boone said to him when he said, get out of here, go sit down. And he was animated. If you watch the game, I love Garrett Cole for that. He wants to stay in. How many guys and I talk about this all the time, 5th, 6th inning, 90, 100 pitches, they're looking to the dugout. Where's the guy to come and get me? Not Garrett Cole, not Jacob deGrom. I love Cole's fire, and I love that. That's the second time I saw it this year, by the way. And I love that he got a chance to finish what he started last night. And that is exciting baseball. Now, they asked him after the game what Boone said, and Boone did say it's your last hitter. And to be honest with you, Garrett Cole, if he was gassed at 129, probably was better bet than Chapman against Alvarez last night, even though it was lefty on lefty the way Alvarez has been pitching. Let me look at a couple of comments here while we can. Billy says Yankees on a tear, 5 out of 6. Still a problem, still remain though, Bill. I'm not confident. Why are they picking umpires when none on the teams play the game? I don't know who's picking on the umpires. Maybe they were last night about the strike zone. Don't know. Toronto make moves and attempt to move up. Yes, I think Toronto will. For Toronto's 2 games over 500. Yankees are still 8 games out of first place. Toronto's 9 games out of first place. I think the Yankees are 5 or 6 out of the wild card, and the Blue Jays are, well, obviously a game behind that. I don't know who we're talking about here. Mickey, you're gonna have to help me out there. You got some purse spelling your own going on there. Yankees going for last place. Well, I don't think they're going to finish last. I mean, the Orioles are putrid, already 22 games under 500. I'm sorry, bad math. I got Perth math going. 32 games under 500 at the All-Star break. Doesn't get worse than that. That's what baseball needs. I think Billy's talking about the 1-0 game last night. Great pitching. Anything to avoid using Chapman at this point. I know he's on your bench on your team, Drew. I see him. You might want to drop him. This guy, I'm not a Chapman fan. And if the Yankees decide to sell, and guys, look I've talked about this a couple of times. The Yankees hot streak right now is nice. 3 weeks. It might be 3 weeks from today. Again, I'm not doing math very well. 14, 21, whatever. 3 weeks roughly to the trade deadline. The Yankees don't continue this streak. If the Yankees are they're still only 4 games over 500. The Yankees are around 500 and 7-8 games out of the wild card. I don't even care if they're 7-8 games out of wild card, because this is a team that's if they're heading for a wild card game, they're heading toward losing it. This team may very well sell come the trade deadline. And Chapman would be probably one of the prime candidates to go. And don't be surprised at any names you hear get brought up, because this team very well could get blown up. I didn't see Kenny's new profile. On the Phillies. Well, I don't know. Maybe Drew, you know who Mickey's talking about, went on the COVID list. There's still COVID out there, guys. You still got to be careful. People are going to get it, and if they get it, even if they're vaccinated, they get it. They don't get sick. They still have to be go on the list, because not everybody's vaccinated, which we're not going to get into here, because I don't want to get taken off of Facebook for 24 hours or even or 3 weeks or whatever they want to take me off for. It's time to be, look at, I'm ready to go. We booked a cruise for October. I swore I wouldn't do it, but we're doing it. I'm done. I haven't traveled in a year and a half. I cannot stay any longer. Bill, he's doing it again. Is that me? The dog is cute. Oh, I don't know who we got. I can't see the picture. Get off the Yankees and talk about the real team. Give me a team you want to talk about, Kenny. I'm going to talk about them all. Alex Baum. There you go. Second-year good player. I just couldn't pick up on it. Sorry, Mickey. Again, he's a good young player for sure. Frank, you mean the Patriots? No, we'll talk about the Patriots plenty. But you guys, I will talk about anything guys want to talk about. You know that. So, and I talk about the Yankees in the context of I have a lot of Yankee groups that I share this with as well. So we're going to have significant Yankee content so that we can get wide distribution to the show, so we can get 1,000 views and we can get it in front of I get this show, guys, probably in front of over 20 to 30,000 people weekly. That's what we want. Get some advertising. Bill, he's an awesome guy. I don't know. Back to the standing. That's cheaters. All right. Anyway, where was I? The Central. Chicago White Sox continue to lead by 7.5 games over the Indians. So we're still a bit of a surprise. Yes, they've faltered a little bit recently. They're 3 games over 500. They'll stay in a wild card race for a while. But the White Sox are going to run away in this division, I would say. And they're going to get Jimenez back at some point. I believe I had read this week that he may be getting ready to resume baseball activities and maybe even have a rehab visit to the minors in his future, in the near future. So the White Sox continue to dominate in that division, and they've got probably the best record in the American League at this point in time, I would say. You have to scroll back up to make sure I'm not lying. Nope, sorry, the Red Sox just edge them out by a few percentage points. Tigers have played better baseball recently. Again, well, only 5-5 in the last 10, but they're only 10 games under 500. And I thought this team would be the worst team in the American League. And the Twins and the Royals have made sure that was not the case even in the Central Division. Yeah, very respectable showing for the Tigers and Hinch. And I got to give credit to Hinch for this. I mean, they've got a lot of kids on the team, other than Cabrera, who I think is as old as me. But they're playing well, and he's doing a great job, which he did in Houston. You can say whatever you want, but yeah, Jimenez is coming back, as I mentioned before. I don't know. I don't remember the timeline, Drew, but that's, again, all these teams. I was going to say Minnesota's trying to come back. Obviously, I'm getting a standing ovation from up on the hill, apparently. I'm not sure. The Twins were my pick to win that division. I'm going to have to eat that one. They've won 3 in a row, but they've had these little mini streaks, and it's probably too late. I mean, maybe they can get in a wild card race. They're still 12 games under 500. They're not going to get in the division race, that's for sure. But, it's just that's baseball. That's why you can't predict anything. And the West, even with the 3-game losing streak now, the Astros still lead the A's by 3.5 games. The A's are only 4-6 in their last 10. I think the Astros are going to win this division. They had the best record in the league until the Yankees beat them the last couple days. The Mariners continue to surprise. Mickey, your Mariners. 6 games over 500 and only 6 games back of the Astros, and certainly right in the hunt for the wild card. I still think probably a year ahead of where they thought they'd be at this point if they stay in contention. And the Angels have been a bit of a disappointment. I did pick them to make the playoffs. They're still in the hunt for the wild card, but they're 500, and the Rangers have been a dumpster fire, especially recently. So the A's continue, though. It's amazing what they do year after year. This team's probably never going to win a World Series with the model they have, but they continue to scare the daylights out of teams consistently year after year. Drew, good point. Seattle is hanging tough, surprisingly, and they've got some great young talent. And I think it's just I still think they're a year away, but I didn't think they'd be probably hanging this close at this point. And the Angels, too many injuries to too many stars. And yes, the pitching, by the way, the injuries. Well, you're missing the best player in baseball for a significant amount of the season. You're going to be in trouble. And to me, Mike Trout still is the best player in baseball. And it's a shame that he has not really been able to get the kind of recognition that he should get amongst, people. Baseball people know Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. But he doesn't get to be on that national stage because the team is never good enough to get to the playoffs. Yeah, well, I'm not going to go for cutting it to 85 games, Kenny, but, I would not be against, I'll be honest with you, I would not be against realigning again back to an East and a West. That'll never happen because of television. It's all about TV money. And they're never going to cut to 85 games. And I don't want them to. I mean, one of the joys of baseball for me, and again, it is diminished a bit by the fact that so many teams make the playoffs. Is that grind of winning consistently over 162 game schedule. I don't want to cut it to 85 games. You play baseball every day. That's what distinguishes it against other sports. But I wouldn't be against them doing some kind of realignment backwards, 2 divisions. But it's not going to happen because TV dollars are just, what they are. Let's see. What did I miss here? Yep, got that. Sorry, guys, the sun just hit me, and I didn't think I was going to get any sun, so now I got to rearrange myself here a little bit. All right, guys, bear with me a second while I stand up. Why can't I find my thing? All right. All righty, we're back at it. Welcome back. We went to commercial for the umbrella company so we could get a little bit of sun off the screen and you can see me a little better, which is probably not good for you guys. Well, guys didn't miss me too much. Where'd I go? Break out the umbrella. Just got to bend her over. Oh, that didn't sound good, did it? Anyway, guys, let's move on to the National League because I want to get to the All-Stars and couple other things. In the East, the Mets continue to lead the way at 4 games over there. Mets 6-4 in their last 10. They play just well enough to stay in first place. Again, with the injuries they've had in the first half, and let's go back to the White Sox and the Mets and some of these teams that have had major injuries, and the Yankees. And they're going to get some of these guys back. The Mets have already started getting back guys like McNeil and Conforto, and Nemo, I think, is back now. And maybe Syndergaard late in the season. Being a great addition to their bullpen if he were to be able to pitch late in the season for the playoff stretch. I wouldn't count on it, Met fans. But it's almost like making midseason moves without giving up players. Because you got guys getting healthy. If you want to see some great, fundamental, exciting baseball, check out the Mohawks. I agree. Listen, those leagues are very important, and they do a great job. Let me just stay on that for a second, just to divert. Great baseball in the perfect. Help me out, Rick, if I get it wrong. The perfect game league. It's collegiate players, almost exclusively. I suppose there could be some people that aren't playing in college, but I think it's exclusively that. And they play throughout the Capital District. There's teams in Albany. There's teams in Cooperstown. There's teams out west, I think. And they play a really good brand of baseball. I haven't been much. When I lived in the Amsterdam area, I went to more games than I do now. And it's a little bit of a ride to Amsterdam. I'd probably go see the Dutchman here in Albany, maybe when the Mohawks come down. In fact, I got to get a schedule. Rick, send me a schedule via email or text or something. And because I'd like to go see them when they play the Dutchman. Previous Mets comment? I may have missed your previous Mets comment, but yeah, back to off the Mohawks. Great baseball. Get out and see some of this. Get out and see this league, guys. If you live nearby in our area here in the Capital District area, there's some great baseball in that league. Anyway, back to the East and the Mets. The Mets are probably, I think, look at the Braves started to make a little run, winning 3 in a row. Now Acuna would being out. It'll be very tough for them to make up this ground. They're 4 games back, only 500. The Mets stand about, I think, 8 games over 500. And again, I see the Mets getting better, not worse, as the season goes on. Great job by Luis Rojas to keep this team upright. And again, they had some help from the rest of the division really not stepping up. But the Mets, you can't take anything away from the Mets. Braves are in trouble now. As you said, the Phillies will benefit. The Nats made their run. I don't think the Nats have enough of anything. Strasburg is always an injury issue. Scherzer's had some issues this year, but he's still one of the top pitchers in the league. Should have been in the All-Star game in my mind. Lester's pitched okay, but their lineup is not that good day to day compared to the rest. The Phillies, I don't think, are going to benefit. I don't think, Drew. I think the Mets are the big beneficiary of the Braves situation right now. I really do. And then you got the Marlins. The big news with the Marlins is that they and Donnie Mattingly mutually agreed to his extension through the 2022 season. I feel bad that Donnie's managing this team. Donnie Mattingly is a really good baseball guy, was a great player, and he's a good manager. He managed some Dodger teams that were really good and just didn't get over the hump. And he was learning on the job. He made some faux pas, but he's a good manager right now. And should he at one point leave, should he at some point leave the Marlins organization, he will probably get a pretty good job. I believe Rick and Kenny are still talking about the Mohawks, so I'll put that comment up, and we'll get back to where we were here. So anyway, there's the East. I still think the Mets are going to win this sucker. Out West, out West. In the Central, my team there finally is starting to get it right, even though they've lost a couple in a row now. They are 15 games over 500. I'm talking about the Milwaukee Brewers. Best pitching, I think one of the best pitching staffs, maybe the best starting staff in the league. And they finally have got it going. They were very streaky early in the year, but they've got it going. The Cubs have just fallen off the face of the earth. We talked only a few weeks ago what a great surprise the Cubs were. Well, the Cubs are going to be selling it at the trade deadline. I gotta believe they've fallen, a couple games under 500, and you may see guys like Chris Bryant and Baez and some others very heavily talked about the next few weeks at the trade deadline. On the other hand, the Cincinnati Reds are a huge surprise. They started off the season red hot, really went in the toilet, and now they've played really great the last month, I guess. They're 8-2 the last 10 games. They're 5 games over 500, only 5 out of the lead, and certainly in the hunt for a wild card, although both wild cards are probably coming from the West, as all 3 top teams there are at 53 wins or better. I mean, that would lead the Reds, for instance, 6 games behind the last wild card spot. Council's manager of the year, agree. Love Craig Counsell. We talked about that on our show before the season started, Drew. The Reds making a run, yes. Pitching won't help. They've got some guys that have really played well, and we'll talk about it when we get to the All-Star selections in Castellana and gosh, what's the other guy's name? Can't think of his name now. It's skipping me. I know Drew's got it, and we'll see it when we look at the All-Star rosters. Cubbies can't get traction. The Cards are imploding. Cards are a mess, I'm telling you. That coach, that manager's probably going to get himself fired this year. Cardinals have always been a good organization and a steady organization. It's hard for me to believe that they'll fall off the face of the earth here and really go, towards the bottom of the standings. But I do not see this team even competing for a wild card right now for sure. The Pirates are the Pirates, and Tuesday supposed to rain. Pick a night and I'll leave family tickets free at the gate. Yeah, I'm probably not going to get up. I don't know who you're talking to. Oh, there you go. You're talking to Kenny. Sorry. You guys got to let me know when you're talking to Kenny. Oh, gosh. Oh, it's hard for me when I get side conversations and I can't see everything. How about out west? The Giants continue. They're for real. I mean, we talked about this last week and the weeks leading up to it. You get to the 4th of July and you start to see who's for real, who's not. Pretenders against contenders. The Giants are for real. I really didn't think they were. Not a big fan of their manager, Gabe Kapler. But he's doing some great things with less talent than the two teams that are chasing him. He's got a 2-game lead on the Dodgers and a 5-game lead on the Padres. Both better talented teams. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a good race through the summer with these 3 teams, and they're right now, I would say they're all likely to make the playoffs. And they're going to play a lot of games against each other, right? So it's going to be a fun divisional race. And again, it's hard with 2 wild cards. It's hard to get excited about the division races the way we used to, but they still mean something. And I hope that they continue to do that. Kapler's still holding it together somehow. I agree. Dodgers and Padres holding steady. The Padres are funny. Padres are very up and down too. And, they've really got nothing out of Blake Snell. So if he comes back in the second half, that's going to be a big boost for them. And I would think all 3 of these teams are going to make some moves here at the trade deadline, right? And we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks, but the Rockies are trying to be relevant, but so what? The Rockies have played better baseball recently, but they're never going to be any good. The D-backs are a dumpster fire. I mean, that team could lose 120 games this year. That's bad. You only had a few teams in history of baseball approach 120 losses. Or more. What'd you say about the Pirates, Drew? And the D-backs make the Pirates look good, right? Not easy to do either. So that's that. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the All-Star rosters real quick. I want to go through the All-Star rosters. We'll talk about some guys that, and I know Drew will have a lot to say here. Any of you other guys can speak up. I'm going to break down, or not break down, but I'm going to go through the rosters as they stand right now. Some were chosen and can't play due to injury. Some have chosen not to play, which we'll talk about as well as it comes up. And some of these have already been named as replacement players. So, and there's still a few significant snubs. It's hard to have snubs. I mean, I think we've gone, gosh, I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but like 2019, the last All-Star game that was played, they named a team last year, I believe it didn't play a game. There was a record number of players that were selected because of so many injuries and so many guys who just said I didn't want to play. I think this is a showcase for the league. Not as much as when I was a kid. The All-Star game was a huge deal for me in the 70s because I didn't get to see these guys play. I didn't get to see Willie Mays or Henry Aaron or Bobby Bonds or some of the other great players throughout the league, the Reggie Jacksons, the great Baltimore players. I could go on and on. We didn't get to see them. I got a game of the week on Saturday. Later on in the decade, there was Monday Night Baseball, but that's what we got. And I get to see visiting teams play the Yankees, and we didn't have cable. So we got maybe, 10 or 20 Yankee games a year when Channel 10 would pick up the WPIX feed on a Sunday or a Saturday for Old Timers Day. But now, games are on every night. We know all these guys. It's not such a big deal, I guess. But to me, it's still a big deal. It's still the only All-Star game that's got any relevance. I don't really like that they use an exhibition game to decide the home field advantage on a Super Bowl. Bring Drew on the All-Star break and follow up your show. I think we do. We talked about doing that. Maybe, I don't know if I can do it next week because I have a guest coming on, Mark Mancini from Podcast Radio. But we do have to do a follow-up. Maybe it'll be the week after. We'll see where we stand before the trade deadline. I think that's what we'll do, is a trade deadline show. All three Brewers stars on the team: Woodruff, Burns, Peralta, plus Hader, as they should be. Let's go through this. I got off the track a little bit. As is my here's the elected starters for the American League. Salvador Perez at catcher for Kansas City. I can't argue with that selection. Vladimir Guerrero, a junior at first base. Tremendous year. Could win a Triple Crown this year. And he's just really got himself in great baseball shape. Playing the game really well. And I can't argue with that selection. Marcus Semien, I cannot argue with this selection at second base from Toronto. Can't believe I had him on my team. My team drew like 4 times and dropped him. But, yeah, that's been the way my season's gone. Rafael Devers from Boston. Can't really argue with that. Bogarts from Boston at shortstop. Devers at third base, by the way. The outfield is Mike Trout, who's hurt and will be replaced. Aaron Judge, who certainly deserves it, though at least he's probably the only Yankee that does deserve it. You've got Teoscar Hernandez from Toronto, who's been a great story, but maybe he's a guy that if you've got an argument in the outfield, which I don't know that I do. And let's forget about who got elected to starters. Let's just worry about who's on the teams. And Ohtani, the DH from LA, who's got 33 home runs, I think, already. He's on a pace for 60 home runs. Oh my God, this guy is an amazing, amazing player. Amazing. And he, by the way, was named as a pitcher, I believe, as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'll come back to your comments here in a second. Let me get back through this. So here's the reserves for the American League. Catcher, Mike Zunino from Tampa Bay, having a really good career year for him. Jose Altuve, who's still one of the most exciting players in the game. Let me see, was he's chosen not to play, by the way. It's interesting, Altuve, and now all of a sudden Correa's on the disabled list. They're choosing not to play is certainly probably tied to COVID. Whit Merrifield from Kansas City. He was an addition. Bo Bichette. Carlos Correa, chosen not to play, but he went on the injured list, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but it seems a little curious in the fact that he had mentioned the day before he went on the DL that he wasn't going to play in the All-Star game. Tim Anderson is an addition from the White Sox, really good player at shortstop. Joey Wendell from Tampa Bay as an addition at shortstop. He's having a nice year. Matt Olson, good power hitter, classic Oakland A's player, good on-base percentage and power. Jose Ramirez, one of my favorite players from Cleveland. Jared Walsh from L.A. Michael Brantley opting out. All the Astros opting out. Very interesting, eh? We'll talk about that in a second. Joey Gallo, Texas. Dallas Garcia from Texas. Texas gets 2 guys. Cedric Mullins, a guy who Drew felt should have been a starter. We won't quibble over that. He's on the team, and that's what really matters. I probably would have started him over the Hernandez kid from Toronto, but either way, they both should be on a team probably. JD Martinez, DH, Nelson Cruz, a DH from Boston and Minnesota, respectively. The starting pitchers, and we'll talk about the American League in a second. I'll look at your comments as soon as I go through the American League. Starting pitchers for the American League. Shane Bieber opting out. Garrett Cole, gotta be I hope he probably can't start. I'm in favor of them moving the game to Wednesday, by the way, just an FYI. Then Garrett Cole, some guys like Garrett Cole could start. Nathan Eovaldi from Boston. Kyle Gibson from Texas. I can never say this guy's name. You say Kikuchi from Seattle. Give it to me, Mickey. You can pronounce that one. Lance Lynn from the White Sox. Pitches great everywhere, Lance Lynn, except the Yankees. Carlos Rondon for the White Sox. Chris Bassett for Oakland. And the relievers are Matt Barnes from Boston, Chapman from New York. Why? Liam Hendricks from the White Sox, Ryan Presley, who's opted out from Houston, and Gregory Soto from Detroit. Let's look at some of your comments here about the American League team. Scherzer is on the team. My bad. All three Brewers start. Well, we're going to get to the National League in a second. Simeon's been very cold lately, but I watched him hit a bomb yesterday in the game against Tampa Bay for his 23rd home run, I think. They're not playing for real, just going through the motions. Need Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse. Look at, I don't know if I agree totally. This isn't the NBA All-Star game. This isn't the Pro Bowl, which I don't think they're even playing the game anymore, which for good reason. Those games are not anything like the game that we watch every day. Baseball still is, other than the pitchers getting shuttled in and out. I still think Major League Baseball game, All-Star game, has some, maybe not great shape, but better shape. I'm sure we're talking about Vlad Guerrero. He's in much better shape. I thought Vlad Guerrero might eat himself out of the league. Altuve and Correa not playing, as I said. Neither is Brantley, by the way, Drew, as I said. There you go. As I said, every Astro chosen has backed out. Come on, guys. Just get in there and face the music. Who cares? I don't care about that scandal, by the way. I know that a lot of guys do. I don't. Once again, everybody got excited last night, and I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. Sorry. Everybody got excited last night when Judge hit a home run. He pulled out his jersey, supposedly mocking Jose Altuve. Who cares? Good grief. Teams have been stealing signs since the game started. They took it to a different level. Don't get your signs stolen. I mean, Jesus. Do something to stop team, whatever. Smart teams don't get their signs stolen because they know how to keep teams from stealing them. Anyway. But at the same time, the Astro players ought to go and face the music and be done with it. I find it very interesting. I believe, at least they were a week or two ago, the Astros are hitting the ball better this year than they did in the year supposedly they were cheating. So again, knowing what is coming, certainly, I guess, helpful for some guys. Some guys, it's not. Let's move to the National League. The starters. Buster Posey, hurt and out. Great story this year. Buster Posey with a great comeback season at catcher for San Francisco. He will not be playing due to injury that he just suffered here recently. Freddie Freeman, Atlanta first baseman. Great player. No argument here. Bring back those comments, Drew, or I'll go back to them if I can, about the National League team. Adam Frazier, awesome story out of Pittsburgh. He'll be the starting second baseman. He's also unlikely to be in Pittsburgh probably a few weeks after the All-Star game, most likely, as he is a prime candidate to be traded. Great player, great versatility, could help a lot of teams, including the Yankees. Could play the outfield. Orendo, I'm sorry, Nolan Ariendo. You know, there's a lot of good third basemen out there. He's the starter. St. Louis always gets a lot of fans. He often gets starters in there that may not be as worthy as some others because of the fan vote and just the total volume they get people coming to the stadium. Fernando Tatis, can't argue with him. Great player, maybe the best player in the National League in my mind. He needs to stay healthy more, needs to play some better defense. Maybe can stop flipping the bat a little bit, but whatever. Acuna, who we mentioned, is out, will not play. He's out for the season. Very sad to see. And there's a guy. Jesse Winkler was the other guy I was trying to think of from Cincinnati. And Nick Castellanos will be in the starting outfield for the National League. The reserves, JT Realmuto from Philadelphia, that catcher. Yadier Molina, he's an addition and opt out. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Maybe they added him and then he opted out. I'll have to check that out. Drew, you might have some information on that. I'm just looking at the symbols, and it's very interesting that he was an injury addition and he's opted out. And Omar, by the way, Omar Narvaez from Milwaukee he's played a great catcher this year for Milwaukee. He's had a very good year with the bat and very good year behind the plate. Ozzy Alebes, I'll never say his name right, Drew. Sorry. Atlanta, second base, great player. Chris Bryant, who we mentioned a minute ago, is a reserve for the Cubs at third base. May not be a Cub here in a couple of weeks. Brandon Crawford, great season out of Brandon Crawford at kind of an advanced baseball age. At shortstop, hitting the ball very, very well. Always been a steady shortstop. Always been a fan of Brandon Crawford. He's a guy that wanted the Yankees to consider bringing in during the offseason. Jay Cronenworth, very valuable player for San Diego. Plays everywhere. Eduardo Escobar from Arizona. You got to pick one player from Arizona, which is fortunate for Eduardo. Justin Turner is an addition, injury addition for the at third base for the Dodgers. Manny Machado. A couple of my snubs have been added since I made my notes. So Manny Machado is on the team for San Diego. Max Muncy, underrated, very versatile player for the Dodgers. Plays all over the infield except shortstop or Ken. I'm not sure how much he's playing right now. I know he's playing mostly first base, I think. But he plays everywhere. Trey Turner for Washington at shortstop. Mookie Betts is not playing, chosen from the Dodgers in the outfield. Brian Reynolds from Pittsburgh is in the outfield. Kyle Schwarber has opted out. He's injured for Washington. Was on a great home run tear to end the season. Juan Soto gets picked to the team as a reserve. Great player. The National League is loaded with some great young players. Baseball's loaded with some great young players right now, guys. And Chris Taylor from the Dodgers, a good story as well. The starting pitchers, we'll get to your National League comments here in a second, Drew and guys. As Drew mentioned, 3 starters from the Milwaukee Brewers. Corbin Burns, great pitcher. Brandon Woodruff and Freddie Peralta all make the team. Peralta gets added. Woodruff's not going to play. And Peralta was added as an injury addition. That's why we did so many guys. It's hard. There's no snubs anymore, right? Because I guess we're going to say snubs. We got to look at the guys that were added as injury additions and see who they would have replaced. Hugh Darvish, not pitching. Not sure why Hugh Darvish isn't pitching. Jacob deGrom said long ago he wouldn't pitch. I'm torn on whether he should or shouldn't. You know, I said the Mets should shut him down, but it's obvious he's healthy since I said that. So, look, the guy's going to go there and pitch 1 inning. He's the best pitcher in baseball, and it's not good for the sport not to have him there. But it kind of goes against some of the things I said earlier. this month, or last month, I should say. Kevin Gausman, great season for San Francisco. He's opted out. Jermaine Marquez, Herman Marquez, Colorado. Listen, as far as pitchers going in Colorado, he's as good as it gets. Trevor Rogers for Miami. Jack Wheeler for Philadelphia, having a great year. I'm sure the Mets wish they had him back. We mentioned Walker Buehler, who was not originally on the team and was one of my big snubs. I think he's 8-1. I had picked him to win the Cy Young, and Max Scherzer was also added to the team. So two guys there I had on my snub list are on. So we're not going to have a lot to talk about snub-wise because of all these guys who opt out now. And Taijuan Walker, an addition for the Mets, and I would have thought he was a guy that should have been considered as well. Relievers, interestingly enough, 4 relievers for the National League. Josh Hader, as Drew mentioned, Craig Kimbrell for Chicago, who's kind of slowed down a little bit. Mark Melancon from San Diego, and Alex Reyes, who's pitched very well for St. Louis. Very interesting. 5 relievers on the American League squad and 4 on the National League squad. For a lot of years, these teams were loading up on relievers at the expense of starters. So it's interesting to see that going the other way a little bit. So Drew had already mentioned about the starters for, let's see, I want to start at the right place here. Okay, so I think that's where I left off. Soto, the best rep and only rep from the Tigers. All right. Well, I would have named Cabrera, even though, Cabrera, guys like Miguel Cabrera should be in the game. This isn't just about, I don't know. I see All-Star Game as a way to honor guys, too, that are nearing the end of their career. And I don't know that this is his last year, but he's got to be getting close. And I know years ago, the leagues found a way to get the Henry Aarons and the Willie Mazes and such on the teams, to honor them as their careers were winding down, because people want to see them. Winkler's gone cold. Molina bailed out. Tons of Dodgers, as there should be. There's tons of Dodgers to pick from. Escobar, the only Diver left, likely to be traded. Ironically, I mentioned, I think, 3 or 4 other guys too, Drew. That's ironically, there's a bunch of guys that are likely to get traded. I mentioned Bryant. You mentioned Escobar. Can't remember who else I mentioned. Somebody else here. Go back through. I'll probably never find it. Oh, well, Adam Frazier. And I think there was one other guy I brought up, but you know what? Happens a lot in these days for sure. Drew like Moneyball. I missed a comment from Kenny, I think. Why would they play? Just going to get booed and they don't boo Brady. I don't understand. Yes, they do boo Brady. So this is about the cheating. So now we'll talk about that for a little bit. I had this conversation a lot on the show. You guys get all worked up over the we'll call it cheating. The problem is the things that you guys get all worked up about, everybody does. Everybody to one extent or another. The Astros did it pretty good. And by the way, Brady gets booed. You don't think Brady gets booed? He doesn't get booed at home. Why would he? But he gets booed on the road all the time. Social media hates him. And the Patriots and Tom Brady and the Astros and the pitchers with the substances on the balls, this isn't new. This type of stuff has gone on for years and years and years and years, and every team does it. Every team is trying to steal signals in the NFL, and the Patriots got fined for doing it. Every team in the National League was trying, or in baseball, tries to steal signs, and the Astros got caught doing it. So not very good at not getting caught. That's their problem. Every quarterback in the league was manipulating footballs, putting more air in it, taking less out, leaving it the same, rubbing up different, whatever. They all wanted the ball a certain way. Different. So all the substance abuse. Well, I keep saying that. Good grief. Foreign substances on the baseballs for pitchers. Hitters have had advantages for years with pine tar, and it gives them a huge advantage. Pitchers have been able to use nothing but rosin forever. Now we put in stupid rules because the pitchers look for a little tiny advantage. And if offense goes down even a little bit, we got to put in rules. Rob Manfred. Idiot. So that's all I'm going to say about that until I read another comment that will probably be debating what I just said. Drew liked Moneyball. Was BM a Patriot? BM. Who's BM? BM. It's not coming to me. I'm sorry, Rick. Not had my Prevagen this morning. Gausman and Woodruff are pitching today, which is why they not backed out. That's a good point, Rick. Drew. Good reason to back out, I guess. Again, another reason I think the game ought to be played on Wednesday. The All-Star break, I think, goes to Friday now anyway. If I was Major League Baseball, I would move everything back a day. I'd play the Futures game on Monday. I would have the Home Run Derby and such on Tuesday. I'd play the game on Wednesday. We'd be off on Friday. We'd play one maybe major series or one major game on Friday, and then go back into full action on the weekend. And then if you moved it to Wednesday, you'd have these guys that pitch Saturday and Sunday have a better chance of pitching. I think Garrett Cole will get in the game, possibly. He may still back out, though, after that complete game last night. It's possibly backs out, but I don't think he will, just knowing his personality. Drew, I want your opinion on DeGrom, by the way. I'm not happy he's not showing up. I'll tell you what, and I know it was many years, and he was younger, and we got to protect his arm and all this. I get it. And I get it's an exhibition. But it's a showcase for the sport. And I remember Jacob DeGrom's first All-Star appearance. Do I remember who he pitched against? No. Other than they were American League All-Stars. And he had one of the most, I hadn't really been into the All-Star game in years. And I don't remember the year this was. It was probably 2015. Probably 2015. But he had just an amazing performance. I think he struck out the side. I won't swear to that. But he was just out there throwing fastballs, and it was exciting to watch. It was exciting to watch. That's what the All-Star game was about. Interleague play has diluted the All-Star game as well as some of the other factors I talked about, but it was still an exciting event. So anyway, I want to get Drew's opinion on DeGrom's decision not to even go. I mean, he would have pitched today if they didn't have a rain out, I think, earlier in the week. So that would have given him an easy out. But, that didn't happen. So anyway, I'll wait for Drew's comments. I'm not going to go into the snubs because, again, to me, with so many guys backing out, there are no snubs. Everybody I would have brought up is there. If you guys got somebody you think got snubbed, bring it up. But I'm going to pass. I will go through a couple of, if I could find it here. Let's go through a couple of mid-season MVP, LVPs, which is least valuable players, and the like. Real quick, we'll go through some of this stuff. So the American League. If I was picking the American League today, it'd be Ohtani. He's a unique talent. He's having a great year. Not playing on the best team, obviously, and it depends on your criteria for MVP. But I'm going to give it to Ohtani only because he contributes in so many places. I said I think they should keep him from pitching maybe going forward. But look, I don't run the team. As long as he is pitching, there's nobody contributes more to a game or to a team than Ohtani. Drew had a comment there. So he would be my MVP in the American League. Oops, hold on. Just lost my page. Now, there's some other guys that have, he's on pace at 60 home runs, by the way. And I'm not going to get into some of these other stats that I'm seeing in one of the articles that I kind of used to come up with this conversation, because they get into a lot of the WAR stuff. I don't care about WAR. I don't care about, OPS. Yes, I like OPS. It's a good stat, I think, which is for you guys who don't know, is on base percentage plus slugging percentage. I think that's an important stat. But WAR, I don't care about. I was watching a debate about, gosh, I don't even remember who it was. Gosh, you were talking about some great players that have passed and how some guys today are better because they're WAR this or WAR that. And Mickey Mantle, whatever. I don't even know who we're talking about. I don't want to throw names around because I don't remember the whole conversation, but it just ticked me off because all we talked about was WAR. And that stats like wins don't matter anymore. I'm reading a book right now about the Yankees' dog days, 64-76. And they're talking about, I think it was 1971, possibly. After that season, Steve Klein, who was a great pitcher for the Yankees back in that time, only went 12-13. He had the best ERA in the league. And when it came contract time, they told him, "We don't care about your ERA. We care about how many games you won. You didn't win enough games." Well, I understand that wins and losses for pitchers are hinge on a lot of other things, but they still matter. They don't matter now because you changed the way the game's played with 7-inning doubleheaders and 90 pitch count, 90 pitch counts of 90, blah blah blah. So guys aren't going to win 20 games. I said last week and several times recently, Jacob deGrom will go to the Hall of Fame maybe with the least wins of any starting pitcher in history. So I like counting stats. They still matter. Wins matter. Strikeouts matter. ERA matters. Home runs matter. RBIs matter. Runs scored matter. All of that matters. Anyway, that's my MVP. So other guys I would put into consideration would be Carl's career we mentioned earlier. He's having a great comeback season. Devers, Semien. He's cooled off recently. And Bogarts. And Altuve. And Jose Ramirez, who was my preseason pick. But I would have all those guys in my equation. For the Mets, I'm sorry, I just gave away my pick, I think. For the National League MVP, I would take Jacob deGrom. Don't care about all the great offensive stats. This guy's having a season. If he were to continue to be anywhere close to where he is, he's had 2 human games in a row. It brought his earned run average all the way up to like 1.05. Still tremendous. Bob Gibson, 1.12 in 1968 on a high mound before they lowered the mound. To do what he's doing with all the things that are against the pitchers today is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And he doesn't get a lot of wins just because of number one, the team doesn't score for him. But he's the most important player on that team. You take deGrom off that team. I believe they're a 500 team this year. And you got to consider Tatis, although he's been hurt a lot. Acuna, who's now not going to have a shot because he got hurt. And probably guys like Trey Turner and Max Muncy will get consideration as well. How about least valuable player? I'm just going to throw that out there because I found these numbers. Oh, my God. Solar. Jorge Solar for the Royals. He's terrible. His slugging percentage is I can't even go. These numbers are just ridiculously bad. He's hitting 176 against righties. He's slugging 290 against lefties. He's hitting 102 in one-run game in games where the Royals are within a run of the game. One run either way or tied. Terrible. The National League, I'll give it to Lindor. Now he's playing better, but he's going to be the least valuable player in my mind. He's contributed really nothing so far. Now that could change in the second half. American League Cy Young, I'm going to give it to Carlos Rondon. He's had a fantastic year. Got a no-hitter. He's on the All-Star team. He's just my guy right now. His ERA is 2.31. His whip is below 1, which, again, I think that's an important stat. Just some tremendous numbers on the best team in the American League. But you got Glasnow, who's now hurt, now having a great year. Cole, who's my guy, I think will certainly give him a run here in the second half. You got Lance Lynn, who's pitched great for the White Sox, because, again, he pitches pretty well everywhere except the Yankees. Oh, I missed some comments here. Sorry. Let me go back to some of these. I thought I was missing comments. Let me go back. I'm going to back up because I missed some of these. I apologize, guys. B. Mingo. Not sure. I don't know the name, Rick. I can look it up. They can watch them and know you're going to do shit. We stole signs in high school. If you're dumb enough to let it happen, so be it. I agree. I'll look up the Mingo thing maybe if I get a chance here in a second. Major League Baseball draft also takes place during the All-Star break, as we talked about. Drew has DeGrom has 3 different health problems, and he's putting his. I don't disagree. I'm torn between the whole thing. He could go, and at least be there. DeGrom backing out gave Walker his deserved shot. Good point. Kenny and Rick are making plans for breakfast. Danny McClain, 30 wins. 1968. Never be broken. Guys win 15 games now. It's like winning 30 games. That's a good point. So many stars not hitting. That's why we got to change all the rules, right? At least anybody hitting under 200. DeGrom comments below, by the way. I got him, I think, Drew. Finally got to it. Sorry. I don't know why my screen didn't go up, but it usually does. So anyway, I'm going to, and Drew, you can comment on this. So I'll look for it, I promise. I think DeGrom's the National League most valuable player. And he's obviously the Cy Young Award winner as well. So he'll be the first guy in a while, I think, to win both of those if it were to happen. So just a couple of, I thought, fun notes. I guess American League rookie of the half season would be Garcia from Texas for me. He's played very well, and he's 28 years old. He's been around a while. God, I can remember when I was in, as I said, the fantasy league, the dynasty league that I had, where we draft deep into farm systems. I had him in my farm team for a long time, many, many years. And in the National League, Trevor Rogers for the Marlins has had a really nice year. He's gone to the mound 17 times so far. And he's given up 3 runs or fewer in 17 of them. So pretty good start for Rogers. And one of the young kids for the Marlins. I still don't know whether the Marlins are doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing. But they've got some kids there that can play, and it's a matter of whether they pay them eventually and let this team mature. You got other guys in the American League and the National League, of course. You've got, in the American League, you've also got Luis Garcia. You got A Rosarina from the Rays. Casey Mize has started to turn it up for the Tigers, who one of the guys that we mentioned for the surprising Tigers, even though they're 10 games under 500, they are playing much better. And in the National League, you got some other guys like Brian Hayes, who I like a lot, been injured a bit, Jonathan India, and I'm sure there's some other guys we haven't thought of. The manager of the half year, Alex Cora, has got to be the manager of the half season in the American League. I picked the Red Sox to finish last. Many people much smarter than I picked them to finish fourth at best. But he's done a great job. Bob Melvin's done a great job. Kevin Cash, who I've got some problems with, done a great job. Tony La Russa, except for one blip, done a great job. Done what he's supposed to do. He's got a team ready-made to win. He's there to get them over the hump. National League manager of half year, it's got to be Gabe Kapler. I'm shocked I'm going to say this, but it's got to be Gabe Kapler. Craig Counsell, 1A. 1A. Love Craig Counsell. Love what he's done in Milwaukee over the years. He's been there quite a few years now, and he's done a great job. And Luis Rojas, I've got to give some props to as well. Let's see what we got here. I wonder if I got comments that are just like popping up late or something, because now I got a bunch again. Let's see. Rick's still on Mingo. He's really interested in this Mingo guy. We'll check it out in a second. DeGrom probably won't win the MVP. Could miss more time. They do prefer hitters. They always do. But that does not mean that they're the MVPs. And what hitters? Well, there's still some guys having good years in the National League. Tatis, for one. Comes right off the top of my head. Max Muncy's having a really good year for the Dodgers. I'm not sure who's the best, so we'll see. Anyway, those are just a couple things off the top of my head. Any other? I guess we touched on everything. One other thing on baseball I'll talk about. Joe Pepitone. Remember Joe Pep? You guys are old enough. You're all old enough. My demographic's like 55 and up. Joe Pepitone, 80-year-old Joe Pepitone. If I don't need that. I do. 80-year-old Joe Pepitone is suing the Baseball Hall of Fame to get back Mickey Mantle's bat that he hit his 500th home run with. It's a Joe Pepitone model. He says he loaned it to Mickey when Mickey was struggling, I think, to get to his 500th home run. It had been a while. He was trying to get it. Pepitone gave him his bat. He hit the home run. The Yankees brass promised him they were going to give the bat to the Hall of Fame, and they promised him that he could have it back at any time that he wanted it. Well, he asked for it last year. I want to say like in September of 2020, he asked for it. And the Hall of Fame says, look, no, it's a museum artifact that we've taken care of for 50 plus years, and you're not getting it back. We never made any promises to anybody. I'm sure Joe wants the bat back because it's worth like $1 million now. You know, it's funny. I'm working with a friend of mine on Facebook to get Joe Pepitone on the show. And I think, Drew, you might have told me you had a connection there too. So I have two ways. I'm trying to come at this from two ways. So you, Drew, get to me 500,000. Yes. And Pepitone's claiming that there are people telling him it's worth twice that much. So that's probably why Joe wants the bat back, I'm sure. But whatever it is, I'd love to have Joe on, talk about that and many other things. Joe's a very colorful guy. Probably the only guy to use a hairdryer along with a hairpiece in Major League Baseball history. He was the first guy, I think, to use a hairdryer. If you read Ball 4, you'd learn a lot about Joe Pepitone. So, anyway, I would love to get Joe on. Drew, remind me, I'd like to do that. That's the guy with the cellar, isn't it? The guy with the cellar that I need to go to. That might be able to get me on get Joe Pepitone on. If that's what I got to do, I'll visit his cellar, I promise. I'm working on it from another angle, too, because another Facebook friend I have from New York City, Maury Bauer, got me Roy White, helped me get Roy White on the show, and is working on some others like Ed Kranepool, Sean Lundetta, to name a few. Yeah, we got to get up there. I need a bad weekend. Next time we get a rain out, we might have to do that. What else we want to talk about today, guys? We got 15 minutes left. Let's talk about a couple things. I'm not going to get into college football today. I don't think. I might talk about it briefly. But I got a lot I want to cover in college football. In the National Football League, we'll talk about a couple of topics. The XFL is returning in 2023. Does anybody care? I don't care. Apparently, I didn't know this. They were in negotiations to collaborate somehow with the CFL. Those fell through. So now they're getting ready to go to, I think, their third time around with a league in 2023. I don't know who cares. Does anybody really care? Because I don't. It didn't work the first time. It's not going to work now. Where am I? I'm off this now. I got to change my thing here. I'm off the... where are we? NFL chatter. So, again, I'm not excited about it. Could care less about it. I'm guessing you guys could based on your silence. Nobody cares. N'Keal Harry's demanded a trade from the Patriots. I say goodbye. See you, N'Keal. Probably I can make a case that he's maybe the sixth best wide receiver on that team right now. N'Keal Harry was a second-round pick 3 or 4 years ago. Very high for Bill Belichick to take a wide receiver. Not happy with his role with the team. And his role with the team is pretty much of his own doing. This guy has got he's a big guy, not fast, but he can't get any separation, and he can't hold on to the football. Guys like N'Keal Harry, you got the chutzpah to demand a trade. Goodbye. Give me a 6th-round draft pick and get out. Who we got here? Some of those players will get a look that they might not have. We're talking about the XFL, I guess, Rick. I'll back up to the XFL. Yeah, they're going to get a look. I mean, I don't know the numbers. Maybe one of you guys do. And I guess I can look them up. I want to look up something else while we're talking about the NFL, by the way. I don't know how many guys from either version of the XFL ever made it to the Pro Bowl. Ever. Do you? I can't think of a guy. I just can't think of a guy. I'm not saying there aren't, but I just can't think of a guy. Again, I'll back up there if you guys want. I will tell you that Barcavius Mingo was a former Patriot. I don't know. Looks like he played with the Bears last year. He played with the Texans in 2019, the Seahawks in 2018, the Colts in 2017, the Patriots in 2016. Didn't get on the field. I think he had 2 assists the entire year. And then he was with the Browns for 3 years. So, again, this guy and any guy like this, and let's not try to tie this to, I don't think you are trying to do that, Rick, by the way, but this is a bad guy, and it's got nothing to do with who or where they played. It's just good grief. A guy like this, if this is true, not enough bad things can happen to him. What else we got in the NFL? Let's talk a little bit about the Cowboys and Hard Knocks. Does anybody care that the Cowboys are on Hard Knocks, and is it good or bad? I think it's their 3rd time on. I'll be honest with you, and I may have said this on the show before when talking about Hard Knocks. It's interesting for 4 weeks during preseason, but there's a much better show on Amazon Prime if you have Prime, and it's called All or Nothing, and it follows teams. You won't get it till the season's over. but it follows a team from training camp right through the entire season. Very similar, done very similarly to Hard Knocks. I'm sure NFL Films is heavily involved in that as they are with Hard Knocks. And I think it's just a better show. Cowboys have not been the Cowboys were part of that one year. I think I've seen at least 4 seasons. The first one I saw was the Cardinals when Bruce Arians was still there. Then they had the Rams when Fisher was still there. And they had the Cowboys. Jason Garrett's maybe last year. I'm not sure. And then the Eagles were the last one the year after they won the Super Bowl. So they didn't do one last year because of COVID, I think. The Weiner broke his heart and won a golf match. Yes. I didn't want to get into it. I was hoping nobody'd bring it up. Hey, he played good golf. What are you going to do? Plus, he had a better, Phil's, 52 years old or whatever he is, 51. And Bryson DeChambeau has taken something that, while the PGA Tour was shut down during steroids, his arms and head grew to twice the size. And so you do the math. So I wasn't happy to see that either. So anyway, as far as Hard Knocks goes, you were quiet, Bill. Well, maybe he's talking about the Weiner. I don't know. Guys, we had a great time last week at our little happy hour. We'll have to do it again. And hopefully we'll have more people there. I had a lot of fun. I should have gone home earlier, but I had a lot of fun. That's about it for the NFL. I was gonna, what I think we'll do too, maybe getting down the Athletic is doing their top 100 NFL players of all time. We may get into their countdown and maybe debate the players a little bit. They've only got a few people in, but as we start to have more time to devote to the NFL, I think we'll maybe talk about that a little bit. I think they're only at number 98 right now anyway. So we may do a little of that as the season goes on. And as I mentioned, or as a preseason goes on, it'll probably take them the entire season to do this. They don't do it and maybe do 1 or 2 a week. College football. I'll finish up with, you guys got any topics you want to bring up? Bring them up. We got 8 minutes left, and I'm not going to get too deep into my college football rhetoric because I was going to talk a lot about some of the conferences and some preseason outlook, but it's still a little early, and we got a lot of time for that. And we're also going to be starting, hopefully, maybe sometime in July here or in August, and if I can find the time, a new show devoted specifically to college football, as Northeast Streaming Sports has asked me to do that. So I have to find a way to see if I can fit it into my busy schedule. But I'm looking forward to it. I love college football. So if we do that, we may spend more time on Sundays with pro football. And I don't know, in the fall, guys, I may have to change the time of the show. I don't really know. You guys can think about it and give me your comments. Depending on if I return to my normal schedule on Sundays, which includes visiting my boys for football when I can, which is almost every Sunday. I may have to end the show a little earlier or start it a little earlier. I'm not sure what I want to do yet, so we'll see. As far as college football, the only thing I would say, we're going to get into this more stuff on this show. We'll probably do more of a recap on the scorers, the games on Saturdays and whatnot, and some of the stories. But we'll do a deeper dive, and I'm looking to probably have. There's some negotiations going on with a co-host that with some college football background as well. So we'll see how that goes. The only thing on college I would say we want to chat about real quick for a few minutes. If you guys don't have any other. What do you got here? Will we be expanding our Pick'em League? I'll expand it to whoever wants to get in it. unless I'm not sure what you mean by expanding. You mean people-wise? We've got some new regulars, such as Carlos, who's not here today. Mickey Delaney, Keith Hayes, we saw earlier today. Anybody who wants to get into our Pick'em league will do, and we'll make it a little more official. Maybe we'll set up a page to do it on. I don't know. So it's a little easier for me as we gain guys. I hope all the guys that did it last year can come back and do it. And we can, if we got more guys you want to bring them in. I think I'll set up a page to do it. Either on Yahoo or CBS Sports. Maybe even NFL.com. I don't know. But I think it would be fun to have more people. Sure. I'm not going to get into anything with college, am I? Yeah, I got 5 minutes. So just if you guys are interested, and I don't even know who's interested. I am. The NIL situation, the name, image, and likeness ruling that came down from the Supreme Court. The colleges were limiting the players' ability to earn money from their likeness and endorsements and such. It's a very slippery slope. Watch my vlog. I'm still very torn, and I'm sure in the coming weeks I'm going to get more clarity on where I stand. But I think there's too much gray area in what they're going to allow. Like, for instance, they say you can't, and the endorsements can't be used as ways to lure kids to a school. Well, kids are going to have more endorsement opportunities in some places than others. Don't even make sense. I don't know why I look like I'm sitting down so low. So I don't know. I like it because I think there's an opportunity. Again, I think the leagues have made, the NCAA has made money, billions and billions and billions of dollars when we're talking about men's basketball, men's football, for years off the backs of these kids. And a lot of them, most of them, the great majority of them are not going on to anything else. Now, hopefully they took advantage of the college education. I don't say that's nothing. Well, that's $250,000 or more at some of these schools we're talking about. And it also, some of the athletes in other sports would get a chance to do endorsements and do speaking engagements. And it would help maybe some of these sports that football has had to prop up. The women's sports, the men's swimming teams and lacrosse teams and whatever else you want to bring up. Well, it's the same comment. Thought that was different. Sorry. I don't know. It's just funny. I don't know exactly where I stand. It's hard because I'm usually very opinionated on these topics. And I am opinionated, but I'm opinionated on both sides. I'm worried about what happens. Right now, the states that don't have any legislation in place, they let the schools police themselves. You guys just do what you need to do. Well, we know how well that works. Sounds like we're ending the show right at the right time. Somebody's fired up a concrete saw or something. So anyway, guys, before we wrap it up here, I want to promote one more time our show Friday. 7:16, 8 a.m. Pat Combs, former Major League Baseball pitcher with the Philadelphia Phillies. And also he's got a book out now called, More Than Winning. I'm sorry, More Than the Score, How Parents and Coaches Can Cultivate Virtue in Youth Athletes. Plus, he's been involved in the development of Major League pitchers and NFL quarterbacks, along with the former Major Leaguer Tom House for many, many years. And we'll talk to Pat Combs about all of that and more come Friday. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Hope you had fun. Hope you had some spirited debate. I hope you have a great Sunday afternoon. It's going to rain here, I think, in a few hours. But enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your week. Hopefully we'll see you with Pat Combs on Friday. If not, we'll see you Sunday morning. Look out for my blog next week. Who knows what I'll be going off about then. And You can see me as well on Let's Talk New York Sports with Dan Harris. I keep forgetting to mention that. You can also look for the Northeast Streaming Sports Network newsletter, which you can subscribe to. Look for details on the TGI Sports Talk page or the Northeast Streaming Sports page. We'll talk to you guys soon. Keep Engel out. Have a great weekend.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, you guys any